If you are a web developer and use Chrome as your browser of choice and want to make your development easier and efficient and want to make the most out of your browser, this video is for you. Stick around. Welcome back. I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time now, and in this video I'm going to cover some of the hand-picked extensions, Chrome browser extensions that I personally like and have really helped me in making my development work easier and efficient. As developers, we know we work on systems, on our laptops, on our screen for an extended period of time, and we really need to take care of our eyes. So there's one extension that is really my favorite, and that's called Dark Reader. And so Dark Reader, right? And this is quite helpful. It really helps you take care of your eyes. You can use Dark Reader theme for night and daily browsing. And this is actually an extension which has got over 4 million plus downloads. And the moment you enable the Dark Reader, all your browsers would look much better. So as you can see on that extension section, I've got the Dark Reader installed, but I don't have it enabled at the moment. That's why the icon is a bit light. So what I can do is, if I head over to, let's say, any other website, so this is my website, and if I click this extension, and when I turn this from off to on, I can also use the extension Alt-Shift-D. So when I enable this, and as you can see, it has gone from light to dark. And so I'll show you how it used to look like before and after. So I'm using the shortcut now, Alt-Shift-D, and it's all bright, maybe way too bright for my eyes. Or I can use the shortcut again, Alt-Shift-D, which is this one, to toggle on or off. So now this is with the dark mode or Dark Reader enabled. So you can essentially make your websites look much better, and it takes care of all the contrast and all the images that are there. It doesn't show any ads and doesn't show or doesn't send any users data anywhere. So it's fully open source, and you can also adjust the brightness. You can also adjust the contrast. It's all in here. So you can take care of the brightness. As you can see, it just changed. So that's all there for you. You can also control that bit as well, and you can also add some exclusions. For example, if you want to exclude certain sites from the Dark Reader, for example, if you've got 5 sites, and once you have enabled this, you want a particular site not to have the Dark Reader, so you can specify those in here. So what that will do is, even if you have that Dark Reader mode enabled, it won't apply. So you can have that flexibility there as well. The other extension is also quite a handy one, especially for developers. So it's called ColorZilla, and so as you can see, ColorZilla is already installed in here. So if I open this, it has also got over 2 million plus users using it. And I have that ColorZilla installed in here. As you can see, that's the icon right there on the top right as I'm hovering my mouse. So let's see this in action. So if I come over to, let's say, this website, right? For example, if you go to any things, let's say, and click on the ColorZilla extension. So if you want to say pick color picker active, whatever, right? This is currently active. So the moment you select that, as you hover over it, you can see the color changing. You can see the color changing on the top right, and as I move my mouse, the color is changing as well in the palette. And it lets you get a color reading from any point in your browser. You can also adjust the color and paste it into any other program, and it has got the eyedropper, advanced color picker, for example. It has got the color picker as well, all built in. You can just click that on the fly and you have access to that. There are quite a few options to explore. And there's also this hue and saturation, something that I haven't explored, but it has got all these things related to the color, so you can explore things right there. The other extension, which is also one of my favorites, and if I'm writing an email or something, I don't go without it, and that's called Grammarly Chrome. I think it's called Grammarly for Chrome or something. So yeah, that's the one, and I have that installed here as well. So it has got over 10 million plus users download, and this is one of the best productivity tools. And this has got over 41,000 ratings. I mean, this is quite good. So it helps you really eliminate any writing errors and find the perfect word to express yourself. It also, makes sure that you're missing any exclamation mark, or if you're missing any comma that's supposed to be there. So for example, if I head over to, let's say, a feedback form, right? And I'm typing in something, let's say I'm typing in my comment. The moment I select this, you can see that Grammarly icon showing up. And I can say, how are you? I am fine. So the moment I do how are you, it is telling me that how are you should not end with a full stop, it should end with a question mark. So if I hover over it, it tells me that, well, it should change the punctuation to question mark. And also it's telling me that I should be in caps. So if I hover over it, it's telling me that it should be capitalization. So it's all free essentially, and you can install it, and it's just a nice plugin. So let's say you're writing something in your Gmail, and there's also an extension for Outlook. So let's say if you're professionally writing a memo or composing an email, it can come quite handy. So you can use it there as well. One of the other extensions also for developers, maybe more for testers. For example, if they're testing something out, and for example, you've got an application form and you want to dump in some test data, for example, right? So some fake data. So there is an extension called Fake Filler. Well, the name tells you. The name is quite self-explanatory. So that's the Fake Filler extension. So if I click on this, and it has got over 100,000 users, and this lets you fill the browser with some dummy data that you might have. So I can give you a demonstration of that. For example, if I go over to my same feedback form, I'm just using CNN. Doesn't mean that is one of my favorite channels that I get my news from, but yep. So I have my feedback form open, and if I go over to the Fake Filler, right? So that is an extension on the top right. So if I just click on this, the moment I hit the button, it filled the data with some dummy information. So because it was an email, so it entered some text with the @ symbol, because this is an email, and all the other information was filled out for me. I can keep clicking, it will just randomly add some data in here. So this is quite helpful for testers. If they're testing some information, they don't have to manually type the information, they have to manually fill the information out. So that can be quite handy. Speaking of filling with some test information, we have another extension called, if I go back to my extension, and there is an extension called Lorem IPsum. I mean, I know there are many websites where if they do not have some content, but they would like to add some information to fill the default text. For example, as you can see, let's say if you're creating a mock-up or some websites to have some dummy data, I'm sure you have used Lorem IPsum. Lorem IPsum basically is a placeholder text. It is commonly used to demonstrate the visual forms of a document or typeface without actually relying on some meaningful content. So it's essentially used as placeholder. So I have that installed already on my Chrome browser. So if I go back to, so for example, the Lorem IPsum extension is this one right here with LI. So if I click on this, it gives me a nice window right here, and I can choose to have 1 paragraph or 2 paragraph or 3. I can also specify how many sentences I would like to have. So every sentence would end with a period. For example, if I say one sentence, so 3 paragraph, 1 sentence, so I can choose to have that, or I can have multiple sentences. I mean, how big I want my paragraph to be, and this is just some test dummy data essentially. And you can choose to have more options if you want to have paragraph tags or not. You can have multiple configuration, and once you have the data in here, you can just select and just paste and use it as a placeholder on your web pages or any document that you might have. It may not look very appealing, but if you're working on web pages, this extension can come quite handy, where you're waiting for some information from stakeholders and you don't have the meaningful content. You can just use the Lorem IPsum, and this will just generate the content with a click of a button. Alright, the other extension is called Font Ninja. Font Ninja is also a productivity extension with over nearly 500,000 plus users using it. So with Font Ninja, what happens is, if you go over to any website, and I have the Font Ninja right here because as you can see it has the icon of a ninja. If I click on this, as I hover my mouse, it's telling me what font that's being used and what color is being used, the size of the font, and the name of the font family. So this can come quite handy as well. So, and then here you can also choose, for example, if you have that, if you select something, and then you can also increase the font size to see how it may look like. You can also increase the spacing in here. It's quite handy essentially. So you can get the font family straight away. You can choose to have semi-bold or bold or regular, how it would look like if you were to bold the font. This can come quite handy if you're working really with fonts and you really want to be specific with fonts on your web page, because I know some companies or some organizations can be very pedantic or very particular about using a particular font and size and the style of the font. Alright, the other one, which is a must-have for developers, I think actually web developers, is called Web Developer. Web Developer is a must-have for, well, web developers. And what the Web Developer does is this lets you do so much more, actually a whole lot more. It has got a stack full of options that developers can use. As you can see, it has got over 1 million plus downloads, and this is my Web Developer tool. If I go over to some page, for example, let's say here or whatever, right? So to see this in action, I can click open the Web Developer tool, and there are so many options that I see in here. I can disable things, I can play with the cookies. I've got CSS, forms, images, and a lot more. So for example, I am on the forms screen, and if I open up my developer extension and head over to the forms, and there are various options that are available to me. I can, let's say, populate form fields. So if I click on that, the moment I do that, it populates the information. It says 17 form fields populated. I mean, there are some other probably form fields that's not visible, but looks like it has populated over 17 fields. And I can also choose to clear form fields. So when I do that, it clears that information for me. I can also convert the text input to text area, for example. I can also check all checkboxes or uncheck all the checkboxes. I can clear the radio buttons. For example, if you might have a radio button for yes or no or whatever, right? You can also do that. And there's also a fun element on the CSS side. For example, if I, let's say, head over to the Stack Overflow, and so let's say this is the page, right? This is how their home page essentially looks like. So if I open up my web developer tool, head over to CSS, and I can choose to disable all styles. So the moment I do that, well, all the CSS, it's not that the website is broken, because I'm disabling all the styles on this page only on my laptop or only on my browser, that is, using the extension. I can untick the disable all styles and everything is back to normal. So I can reload, I can add some CSS, edit CSS. There are some images as well. So for example, if I head over to my page, let's say this site, right? And if I choose to hide images, so the moment I click this, all the images are gone. All the images are gone. I can bring the images back by clicking on the hide images toggle again, and the images are back as well. I can also choose to disable the image, and what disabling image does is, when I click on this one and if I reload the page, the images will now not be loaded on this page. As you can see, they're all these are all the alternative text showing for the image, because the images have all been disabled thanks to this powerful extension. It can be very handy as well. So I can re-enable the option and choose reload, and it's all back to how it was. So we can disable all the attributes. You can set the image size. There are cookies as well. You can disable the cookies. So essentially, this extension web developer tool is packed with heaps of information that can come quite handy for developers. So there's a lot to explore in this one extension. As you can see, there are so many options available to you right with the click of a button. Another extension similar to web developer is called web developer checklist, and this extension essentially does what the name says. It's essentially a checklist, and it tells you essentially it goes through your website and does an analysis of your website and tells you what your website is missing, what your website needs to have. It gives you essentially a quick report just with a click of a button. So I have installed that extension in here. As you can see, I have that installed already on my Chrome browser, and that extension is right there. So if I want to run that extension or essentially analyze, if I can click on this one, and what it does is it generates a report, and it tells me, well, usability, the URL is friendly. Yep, the URL is quite friendly, cnn.com/feedback. It has the favicon. The favicon, as you can see, is that icon on the browser tab. So that's right there, and it's pretty much, so it also gives me a score, like so there are about 13 items in the checklist, and it is passing about 9 of 13. So essentially not bad. So if I want to run this checklist on Stack Overflow, well, which is the devs the go-to website, and it's about 10 out of 13. So this is pretty much better than what CNN is doing. But if I want to further drill down into the HTML validation error, I can click on this, and online validator, if I click on this, and it tells me what issue a browser might be having. So it's up to you if you want to go into that, go deep into that route, but you get a very quick visual verification of your website, and you can see what is missing, what is needed to be added, how my website is doing, so on and so forth. Last but not least, there's one more app that is quite helpful, or maybe helpful for developers, and that is called, speaking of analyzing things, it's called WebLizer. And as the name says, it pretty much helps you analyze the website. It tells you, it actually identifies the technology that are used on the website. This has also got over a million plus users using it, and I have installed this on my browser. So if I go over to, for example, CNN, right, and that extension is right here, WebLizer. If I click on this, it quickly goes and tells me what technology is being used, what Java framework is being used. I think it looks like it's using React, and what JavaScript library and what JavaScript framework that is being used on this website. It's all showing me right here. And similarly, if I go over to, let's say, Stack Overflow and run the analysis there, it tells me, well, this is using what caching technology it's using, what advertisement it's running on the website, what JavaScript framework is running, and library is jQuery, what version of the library is being used. So it gives me some information in here. So if I want to go further, if I want to drill down, then I think if you want to get some premium analysis, I think there's a charge for it. But in short, even with the basic, you get heaps of information. So if I do an analysis on my website quickly with one button, it tells me, well, I'm using WordPress. Yes, because I'm using WordPress, and WordPress is of course using MySQL as database, and essentially that's pretty much it. And what PHP version is running. So just with one click of a button, you can get a whole lot out of your website, and it can really help you become a better developer. Just using the extensions, it can really make your life easier and increase your efficiency. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. That will let me know that you have enjoyed this video and you're liking my work. If this video has helped you in any shape or form, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know what your favorite extensions are, and if you have something that you can share with me or with others, do let me know. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.